Hey, this is Mark from Northwest Bourbon, and we are talking about our favorite whiskeys from 2022. What are your favorites of the year? Let's get into our list. Cheers, everybody. Alright guys, let's get right into the list. Now this list is not in any particular order. The number one is not necessarily the number one. The number three is not necessarily number three. We're just going to go through the list of these are the top whiskeys we've had so far this year. Alright, so if you're familiar with the channel, then you probably saw it coming that the Jack Daniel's Hero Selection was going to make the top of 2022 list. I think I have gotten 3 different variants this year, and they've all been fantastic. One of them stood out more than the others, but the other 2 I got this year were spectacular. All the ones we've tried so far this year have been fantastic. They're all between 126 and 130 proof. There's some people that weren't able to get them that I was able to hand off a few of these bottles to this year. They are hand selected by a Navy veteran manager at the Jack Daniel's distillery, and they are wonderful. And so if you get the chance to get your hands on a Jack Daniel's Hero Selection, it made our top of the year list. Alright, moving on to the next one. Now another one that we were able to find on base exclusively was a maker's pick called All Ranks by Vets for Vets. Now this is the batch 01 that came out last year, and you barely heard me mention it at all because it wasn't great. Now the batch that came out this year, the 2022 batch 002, was absolutely fantastic. It had such a great balance to it, especially compared to last year's release. And so I felt like this one deserved a spot on our top list because it was really good. It's 109.5. I'll throw a picture up here so you can see what staves are in it. It was bottled in May of 2022, and I'm going to pick up a backup bottle next time I go on base because I've really been enjoying it lately. So this one also gets a spot on the list. Now, speaking of Maker's Mark, I was waiting all year for the wood finishing series because every year those are just hitters. And it wasn't until December that Marvin from Whiskey Wine 101 was able to get his hands on the new BRTs. We tried the 01 versus the 02 side by side, went back and forth a few times, and decided that the 01, the BRT 01, was really sweet. It was a candy bomb, butterscotch and caramel all over the place. But it's just a little too sweet, not as complex as I like my whiskeys. The BRT 02 gave me what I was looking for because it had the sweetness, but it had the spice, it had the fruits, it had the floral. Everything was in there, and it was at the right levels. And this guy comes in at 109.4 proof again, and I really enjoy it. It definitely made my top of the year list. Now, next on my list is a Woodford batch proof that I got from Sean L., who was nice enough to donate this to the channel so that we could try it, and it's phenomenal. I really enjoy it. It's got a much different flavor profile than the majority of the stuff on my bar already, and I really enjoy it. It's fantastic, and it's in such an awesome looking bottle. I mean, that bottle really stands out on the shelf. It's 118.4 proof, and I really enjoy it. Definitely made my top of the year list. Now, speaking of Sean L., him and Lee, the bourbon baller, got together, sent me a flight of some absolute hitters. It was a fun, fantastic flight, and there's 3 of them on that flight that make my top of the year list of all the whiskeys I've tasted. The Heaven Hill 17 and the Parker's Heritage Heavy Char, the 10-year and the 11-year. All 3 of those were freaking amazing, and I really enjoyed them. Fantastic. Deserve a spot on the list of the best whiskeys I've had so far this year. Now, another bottle that I don't actually own, but I got to try this year, was an Elijah Craig private barrel that was submitted to the 21090 Advent Calendar by Chris, and that private barrel was fantastic. I've had an Elijah Craig private barrel that I would have chosen one of the Elijah Craig barrel proofs over every day of the week because I didn't think it was very good. But it just turns out that whoever actually picked that barrel, mine and their flavor profiles don't necessarily agree, because the one we tried from Chris in the 21090 Advent Calendar was absolutely phenomenal, And if I can find a way to get another one of those, I would every day of the week. Now, speaking of Elijah Craig, we tried the A122, the B522, and the C922. A versus B, preferred the A. So when I finally got a hold of the C batch of the C922, had to do a side by side of those two and the C1. So next spot on the list goes to the Elijah Craig C922 that comes in at 124.8 proof. And it's got a great balance of sweet, candy, chocolate, and spices. It's really good. I enjoy the C922 a lot. But when I did that lineup of the A versus the C, I also did the Larcenies. Now the Larceny, same story. Tried the A versus the B, preferred the A. Then when I tried the A versus the C, when the C922 finally fell into my arms, I preferred the C. And so the next one on the list is Larceny Barrel Proof C922, coming in at 126.6 proof. It's got a lot of great fruity candy notes in it that the Elijah Craig didn't have. And I actually preferred this one over the Elijah Craig. I think the Larceny C922 is better than all three of Elijah Craig's releases this year, and it's the best of their releases so far. It's really good. So if you have any doubts about Larceny, try this C922, and please drop in the comments below what you think of it. I'd love to chop it up with you and talk about it. Alright, next hitter on the list. We went up to Woodinville when they were doing a special barrel release. They had apple brandy Calvados finish cask, they had Marsala wine finish cask, and they had an orange wine finish cask. And so I've got to put some of those Woodinville special releases from this year. Here's the Calvados, here's the Marsala. Marsala's at 109.64. The Calvados is at 110 even. They are really good and really interesting, different than anything else I have on my bar, and definitely deserve a spot on the top of the list. All right, next on the list is the Booker's Kentucky Tea Batch. Now, the Booker's Kentucky Tea Batch, I was lucky enough to find on base for like $74 out the door. The 2022 Kentucky Tea Batch is 63.25%. That's 126.5. And I really enjoy this Booker's. This is probably the best Booker's I've ever had. Now, I haven't had that many of them. They're really hard to come by in my area, but I really enjoyed this Kentucky Tea Batch and would say it's definitely on the top of the list for whiskeys I've had this year. All right, next on the list is the Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend. I was finally able to get my hands on a Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend. This is batch number 119, and I really enjoy it. It is a phenomenal pour. The balance in it is fantastic. I've never had anything like it before. It's 57.77, which puts it right about 115.54 proof, and it is delicious. I didn't get to try any of the other batches this year, but this one I can tell you I really enjoyed it, and it deserves a spot on the top. Now, finishing out this list is the Jack Daniel's Special Release Twice Barreled Single Malt, finished in Oloroso sherry casks at 53.9%, 107.8 proof. Now, this bottle is a little on the controversial side because not everybody out there thinks it's worth the price tag. But personally, I think it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's very complex, has a lot going on, lots of fun fruits and spices and floral notes that all complement each other very well. And I'm just a sucker for Jack. What can I say? So if you've got a bottle of it that you don't really like it, hit me up in the comments. Maybe we can do a trade and I'll take yours off your hands and I'll give you something like that. Alright, and that concludes our list for best whiskeys we've tried in 2022. If there's anything that you tried that we didn't get a chance to try that you think deserves a spot on the top of the year list, go ahead and leave it in the comments below, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to find it. I hope you all had a great year, and I hope that next year is even better for you. Remember, earn, protect, enjoy. Cheers.